The December wind was a physical thing, biting through Margaret's thin, cream-colored dress. At 24, she was a ghost of her former self, huddled at a bus stop, her worn backpack her only possession. She'd been on the streets for months. Her blonde hair hung limp, and her bare feet were numb against the icy pavement. 3 days ago, she'd sold her last pair of shoes for food. Snow fell softly, turning the streetlights into blurred halos of golden red. Margaret hugged her knees tight inside the flimsy shelter, watching everyone else rush past, bundled up, racing toward the warmth she'd forgotten. It was a cold she felt in her bones, a cold that threatened to extinguish the last flicker of hope. Then, a small figure appeared through the falling snow. A little girl, perhaps 4 years old, in a burgundy dress and a thick gray knitted cap. She walked with careful, concentrated steps, clutching a small paper bag in her mittened hands. The child stopped directly in front of Margaret. Her solemn brown eyes studied the homeless woman. "Are you cold?" The clear voice cut through the winter stillness. Margaret managed a weak smile. "A little, sweetheart, but I'm okay." The girl's gaze dropped to Margaret's bare feet, then back to her face. Without a word, she extended the paper bag. "This is for you." Margaret's throat tightened. "Oh, honey, I can't take your food." "It's okay," the girl said simply. "Daddy bought me cookies, but you look hungry." Behind them, a man in a dark coat stood watching. Snow gathered on his shoulders, but he didn't move to call the child back. Margaret's hands were shaking as she took the bag. Inside were fresh cookies, still warm from a nearby bakery. The smell alone brought tears to her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. The little girl tilted her head, considering Margaret with a wisdom that didn't match her age. And then she said the words that changed everything. "You need a home, and I need a mummy." The phrase hung in the snowy air. Margaret stared up at the child, stunned. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lucy," the girl said. "My mommy went to heaven. Daddy says she's an angel." "Are you an angel?" "No, baby. I'm just someone who made some mistakes." Lucy gently touched Margaret's cheek. "Daddy says everyone makes mistakes. That's why we need love." The man finally approached, kneeling beside his daughter. He was perhaps 40, with kind, deeply sad eyes. "I'm sorry," he said to Margaret. "Lucy has a way of finding people who need help. I'm Daniel Hayes." Margaret started to apologize, but Daniel held up his hand. "My daughter's right. You need shelter, and we have an extra room. My wife passed 6 months ago. The house feels too empty." He paused, his breath fogging in the cold. "I'm not making promises beyond tonight, but no one should be out here. If you'd like a warm meal and a safe place to sleep, the offer stands." Margaret had learned brutal lessons on the street. Trust was a luxury, but the genuine sadness in Daniel's eyes, the innocent faith of Lucy, felt real. "I don't want charity," she managed. "It's not charity," Daniel countered. "It's humanity. Someone helped me once. I'm just passing it forward." Lucy took Margaret's hand. "Please, come home with us. It's Christmas soon, and Santa brings presents to people who have homes." Something broke open inside Margaret's just a frozen place she thought was dead. "Okay," she whispered, "just for tonight." One night became several. Daniel offered the guest room and asked nothing in return but her company at meals. Lucy instantly attached herself to Margaret, sharing every toy and book. Margaret learned Daniel was a teacher, grieving his wife's car accident. She learned Lucy had nightmares that Margaret's presence seemed to soothe. In turn, Margaret shared her truth. Job loss, medical bills from her mother's illness, a cascade of bad luck. Never an addict, never in trouble, just broke and too proud to ask for help until it was too late. Daniel listened without judgment. "Life can break any of us," he told her. "What matters is whether someone's there to help us stand again." Over the next few weeks, Margaret began to heal. Daniel helped her find work at a local library. Lucy insisted Margaret tuck her in every night, a sacred ritual for them both. 3 months later, Margaret found Daniel looking at photos of his late wife. She would have liked you, he said. Amanda always said kindness recognizes kindness. Lucy offered me her cookies at night, Margaret said softly, but she gave me so much more. She gave me a reason to believe in goodness again. She needed you, too, Daniel replied. Since you came, she started smiling again, really smiling. Lucy appeared in her nightgown, the gray cap she now wore constantly still on her head. She looked straight at Margaret. Are you staying forever? Margaret looked at Daniel, who nodded slightly. If you'll have me, Margaret said. I'd like that very much. Lucy climbed into her lap. Good, because you're my mommy now. I told Santa, and he said it was okay. Margaret held this precious child, this family that had found her in the snow. She thought of that freezing night, how close she was to giving up. An act of pure kindness had lit a candle in her darkness. Daniel reached over, and the three of them sat together. Family formed not by blood, but by compassion, by the simple human need to belong and be loved. Outside, the snow fell gently, but inside, everything was warm. Sometimes angels find us in our darkest moments. Sometimes they wear gray knitted caps and carry cookies. And sometimes, if we're brave enough to accept their gift, they save us. Not just from the cold outside, but from the cold within.